All right, well, we're joined in the studio by a social political analyst who will give us more insight and analysis on Zimbabwe. Dino Mambewu, thank you very much for joining us here in the studio. As a start, do you think that Zimbabwe in its current state right now is ready for those elections? 30th of July being set as the date. Already there are some tensions. Is the country ready to hold elections?
Flo, thank you for having me, and thank you to Afro World viewers and the team. Firstly, I would like to point out that it is inconceivable at this particular moment to imagine that Zimbabwe will be able to hold free, fair, and legitimate elections. My assumption is based on the current happenings or current occurrences. I think we should go back a little bit. I'd like to touch on the story that you have mentioned, that the Constitutional Court has ruled out that they won't be availing diaspora vote. So you will remember that in November, President Mnangagwa was on a whirlwind from November, December, where he went into various countries where Zimbabweans are residents. And he has been engaging Zimbabweans. And he said himself that the voice of the people is the voice of God. Now, to deny us, the very same people that he came to accost and to encourage us to invest in Zimbabwe and to come back home, the right to vote, I think it's an insult to the people of Zimbabwe at large. And we will also realize that at the current moment, there has not been any particular reforms that would lead to a free and fair election. I think people have always had the mentality or the notion that the absence of violence will equal to free, fair, and credible elections. But that is not true. I want to put, for example, the absence of media reforms, where the state media has become an extension of the commissariat or the information department of the ruling party, where the Zim papers and ZBC act in a manner that shows that they do not care about their partisanship, and they continue to denigrate other opposition parties in favor of ZANU-PF. So that on its own is testament to the fact that there will not be any free and fair or credible elections in Zimbabwe. And also the ruling that we have seen coming out of the Constitutional Court, without any reasonable reasons, they've just dismissed the application. And we might probably have the reasons coming up in the next 3 weeks or so, but the timing of that ruling, and also it happens on the same time that the election date has been proclaimed, that adds to the mystery around what is happening. We also have issues regarding the voters' roll, which has not been finalized. We also have issues regarding the printing of the ballot box, of the ballot papers. And we have heard that previously there is a journalist in Britain, Stephen Saka, who was interviewing the president for the MDC Chamisa, and he said that ballot papers had already been printed. So there is a whole lot of controversy, right, which touches on the legitimacy and credibility of the elections.
Well, a number of issues that you've raised, but I want to stick to the issue of the diaspora vote. As we know, there are many Zimbabwean nationals that are currently living in South Africa. So, of course, this means that many of those Zimbabweans will then be excluded from the vote. As a first question, who does this work against? And is the opposition party correct in assuming that this will work against them as a party? And on the back of that question, what sort of recourse do you think should be given to Zimbabweans that are saying that they want to be able to vote in these upcoming elections? Perhaps the government currently is correct in saying that the resources are not available. As you've pointed out, there's an issue of the printing of ballot papers, for example.
Well, what we should understand is that the right to vote is a sacrosanct right which is given to all Zimbabweans, regardless of their place of residency. So now, to take away that right on bases that are not so clear intimidates the people, and it makes us understand that indeed the dispensation that we are currently having in Zimbabwe is a dispensation that preaches the new but acting in an old manner. So we actually find ourselves in a situation whereby we have a government that does not care of the people. So to come with such a ruling, it disenfranchises about 3 million Zimbabweans who are resident in the diaspora. You would understand that to go to Zimbabwe, most Zimbabweans would want at least 5 days from work. And we are here to work. We would have appreciated if the government had said, vote from your embassies wherever you are, because we all have those facilities. I think we have had discussions as civic society with governments in SADC to try and say, can there be a possibility that they can assist us in seeing that situation coming to fruition? And they were very positive that they could assist us here and there. But again, to say that the people that have been disenfranchised opposition people, I think that's an understatement. It disenfranchises the majority of Zimbabweans. There are people that support ZANU-PF that are in the diaspora. Very strong structures that ZANU-PF has got in London. They've got structures in North America. They've got structures here in South Africa. So all those people are now disenfranchised. I think it is only fair and right and reasonable to allow all Zimbabweans to participate. But then again, we are 60 days from the election, and this is just one big mess. And I think the delays that we have seen and the machinations all point out to a government that is not ready to deliver as to its promises. I think the government of Zimbabwe does more in talk than action, and we have seen that, and that will probably impact on the legitimacy going forward.
How sure is the opposition that the majority of those in the diaspora would vote in their favor? Are they not convinced of the fact that those in the diaspora would be voting for Mnangagwa?
No, the idea here is not to probably say that the people in the diaspora vote for MDC or whatever party. Yeah. The idea is we are saying the people of Zimbabwe have got a generic right, constitutional right, to have a say in whatever that happens in terms of elections. So regardless of whether the person will vote for MDC or ZANU-PF or any other party for that matter, they should have the prudence of exercising that particular right. So I think that is where the Constitutional Court should have come in. And I think the Constitution probably is not very clear, but whenever a law is interpreted, we should also consider the human effect or the human input of the law.
Now, President Mnangagwa has said that he's aware of a plot to impeach him. What do you think about this? And is this sort of paranoia on his side or sort of electioneering as we're heading up to that 30th of July?
I think one thing that we should have seen about Mnangagwa's administration, Mnangagwa came through a political, some kind of a transition that many would have referred to as a coup or a coup d'etat. So he has also advanced the argument that I cannot deal effectively with corruption, I cannot deal effectively with corrupt ministers because I need the mandate of the people. So that also says that there is kind of an illegitimacy problem with him. And he is a man that rides over ZANU-PF, which is already divided. I think you will know that there is the National Patriotic Front, some of whose MPs have already been coming out in the open, and they've been declaring support and saying they are going to withdraw support from ZANU-PF. Yes. I think as of yesterday, 3 MPs were withdrawn from Parliament. Those MPs were serving under the ZANU-PF party. So it is a sign, really, that things are not well in ZANU-PF as a party, and also that the people of Zimbabwe are likely not going to vote for the party in the coming elections. I'd
hate to make you comment on the opinion of an obscure lobby group, but in any case, as I was reading up on the situation in Zimbabwe, there is a popular opinion poll in Zimbabwe which says that President Mnangagwa is set to win 70% of those elections, upcoming elections. A lot of people now saying that this is actually nothing but propaganda. In your view, what is likely to happen, and what do you think about that opinion poll?
Well, to be very precise, that opinion poll is a false opinion poll. It is, I have been looking at the attributes of the survey. They seem to have surveyed only about 3,000 people. And you remember that there are about 5 million Zimbabweans that are registered to vote in this particular election. So surveying about 3,000 people and coming out with such a statement, I think it is a political statement that is meant to prop up the candidates of Emmerson Mnangagwa. In any event, there is no possibility where ZANU-PF will be able to garner 70% of the vote. If they do better, I expect them to have probably 40%. In this election, I think that there will be no outright winner, given that there is no rigging. But if they rig, obviously, they will be able to put whatever mark that they want. They could get 80, they could get 90 or 60. So in a rigged election, yes, of course, that is possible. But without rigging, ZANU-PF can never be in that position. And I want you to understand the mood of the people in the country. The people had said from November, we need to try and give Emmerson Mnangagwa a chance. The chance that he was given was to say, okay, fix the economy, fix the health system, fix the corruption and scandals that are associated with the party and the ministers. But one thing that is funny about the administration of Mnangagwa is he has maintained the same people that were maintained by Robert Mugabe. He has maintained the same people that are known to have vandalized the parastatals. And just of late, so you know, there is a minister who is a deputy minister of finance, Terence Mukupe. He was on record saying that the army will never leave power to anybody, even Nelson Chamisa, on the basis that they took power from Mugabe. So what we see here is a government that is bent on creating and retaining power than creating opportunities for the people. And that is a dangerous scenario. I think we need to leave. I think we need a government that understands that it is in power to save, not to retain power. So that's a serious problem that we are facing.
Let's leave it there. Thank you very much. That was a lot of information, and we do appreciate it. And I'm sure we'll have you back in studio with us to take us through as we lead up to that 30th of July that's been set as the date for the elections. Thank you so very much for your time, Mr. Dino Mambeu, political analyst, talking to us, taking us through the situation in Zimbabwe as those elections have been set, the date set for the 30th of July. No doubt we will be having many conversations around that as we edge up closer to that date.